These are the top things that you need to know when getting a house in the UK. Now, if you want to get a house in 5 days, these are the things that you need to know. Let's dive right into the video. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, thank you for stopping by. If you're an old subscriber, thank you so much for being on this journey with me. I'm so happy that you've decided to stay as a subscriber. If you do not know me, my name is Riola and I am currently living in the United Kingdom. Currently I'm in Birmingham, but this is necessary when you want to get a house in the UK. I have a couple of tips that would help you to get an accommodation faster than others whilst living in the UK. Now, the most important thing that you need to consider is your budget. Having an estimated budget is going to help you know exactly the kind of property that you want to go for and what is required of that property. Now, your budget also covers what you're willing to spend on the electricity bills, the water bills, and other bills that would be included for you. And once you know the budget that you want to go, you would want to look for where you want to ask yourself, where do I go? Where do I look for? In the UK, you don't necessarily have to ask a friend 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 before you can get a property. You can simply go on third-party letting sites or individual letting sites. Now, third-party letting sites are sites like Rightmove, Zoopla, and Spare Room. You can go on those sites to look for an accommodation or a property that you want. So now, this is a very important thing to consider when you want to get an accommodation in the UK. What are your non-negotiables? These are things that you cannot negotiate. They are not negotiable. Now, you want to consider the place that you're living, the area. Where is it? Is it located to the city? Is it close to the city center? Because it's commonly known that houses that are in the city center are way pricier than houses that are in the suburb or in like other areas that is not the city center. So you want to consider this. Is it a negotiable for you or not negotiable for you? Consider houses on the city center. You should know that the prices they are going to be really high, because is it close to the bus stop? Is it close to the train station? Is it close to the tram? Is it convenient for you? Do you want a house that is far away from the bus stop or the train station? You don't want noise. All those kind of things are non-negotiable. You also want to say, okay, is this house gonna have like a kind of flooring? Can be your non-negotiable. It can be like, the flooring, is it wooden floorings? Does it have rugs? All those kind of things are things that could be a non-negotiable for you. You also like to consider the environment again. Is it safe? Is the environment safe? Is there security in this environment? How are their policies like in this environment? You would also like to consider type of house you want to go for. We have the flats, we have the 2-level flats, we have the studio flats, we have the converted flats, and we have the detachable houses, as well as semi-detached houses, terrace houses. The list goes on and on. So these are things that you consider. What kind of house am I going for? Now, when you look at that, you go on the site. Price ranges from 100 to 1,000 to 1,200 to 3,000 and the likes. However, you want to know what is good for you, what you want to get for yourself that would not be inconveniencing in the long run. Meaning that you're going to check the salary that you receive and say, because I mean, you cannot possibly go for a house of £2,000 per month when you're earning only less than £2,000 per month. You cannot do that. It's very inconveniencing and you would run into debt and you run into problems if you do that. Now, this is what to do when you find the house that you're looking for on the website. The first thing you want to do is to request for a viewing. Now, the viewings are in different types. There are in-person viewings and online viewings. This is a very important tip. You should go for a viewing if you want to have a house, or if you don't want to do an in-person viewing, you should make sure that you have a video of that house. But I would personally advise, because I've been in that situation, I would personally advise that you go for yourself, carry your legs and go to the viewing. Because when you go to the viewing of a property, you tend to ask questions that you might not really see in the video. Like if they send you a video, you might not really see that. You tend to see the thing in person and like physically, and then you ask the questions that you need. When you go to a property, you will see how the property is like. You will ask the questions about how the council tax in that area is. They might not really have the answers, but they can tell you, okay, we could once you decide to get a property, we'll give you the contacts of the landlord, and you can discuss that with the landlord. However, it is important that you do a viewing yourself. Now, once that part is done, you make an offer. Now, there are always the prices of the house attached to every profile of any property. So when you say, I'm interested in this property, and you go to view the house, and then you like the house, you now make an offer. Now, there is something called the holding deposit. Holding deposits, I advise people not to pay. Do not pay holding deposit if you know that you are not going to you don't want this house, because it can happen that you see one house and the other. You have to be able to have at least 4 or 5 viewings before you make your decision, and you compare and contrast each house before you make your decision. Because if you say, oh, you're in a hurry or you're rushing, you might end up getting the wrong house, and you might end up paying holding deposit for the wrong house. Now, mind you, most of the time holding deposits are not refunded, and holding deposit starts from 50 to 100 pounds. Imagine going for a viewing, and because of eagerness, because you're so in a hurry, you decide to pay holding deposit. This holding deposit may never be refunded to you. You see a disclaimer that the holding deposits are not refunded. Now, this holding deposit, if you decide to proceed to get this apartment, the holding deposit will be minused from your rent. Once you pay your holding deposit, the company or the agent or whosoever is giving you this property, maybe the landlord, would have to do background checks for you. Now, if you're new in the UK, most of these companies, they require a guarantor. That is someone that is living in the UK, someone that is working in the UK. And if, let's say, you've been already in the UK, you've been living already in the UK, they will need to do background checks for you. Now, the background checks include checking your credit score, checking if you have a right to rent, checking all these checks, and all these checks they do, which is very important, because they cannot just give their house to just anybody. They need to know that you have a right to rent, you're working. They might ask you for your pay slips. They might ask you for a lot of things. Just to know, they'll ask you for your name, they ask you for your date of birth, they ask you for where you work, they'll also ask for, even if you live in the UK currently, and they will ask you for the contact details of your old landlord. But if you're new in the UK, they might just ask you for a guarantor. Some houses don't, other houses do. So you need to, if you don't want to go for a house that asks for a guarantor, then you don't. But if you have to go for a house that has needs a guarantor, you will need to get yourself a guarantor. Once you pass your check, you'll be given your checks. You'll be given an account to send your deposits and your first month house rent to. Now, when you do that, they will now give you a contract to sign. This is the agreement contract. It is very, very important to read through a contract in this country. I mean, maybe every other place that the landlord gives someone a contract, but it's very important to read a contract, and it's very important to ask for that contract. It's very important, because subsequently you might need it as proof of, oh, I'm moving into the property. And again, you also might need it when maybe the property is a property that is not bills inclusive. Now, I'm going to explain what bills inclusive, and I'm going to explain what properties that are not bills inclusive mean. If the property is bills inclusive, it means that the amount, say it's £500, it covers the electricity, the water, the Wi-Fi, literally everything that you need in the house. Now, if the property is not bills inclusive, it means that the property only, the money that you pay is only your house rent. It doesn't cover, the money you pay is only for your house rent. It does not cover electricity bills, it does not cover water bills, it doesn't cover Wi-Fi bills. So now you need to know that, you need to really look at your contract and ask for that, because it might be needed when you want to apply for an electricity provider or Wi-Fi provider. They might ask you, especially, or water provider, they might ask you for, where did your contract start? when did you agree to move into this property. They might also the people that do the council tax, right? Say you're not a student or you'll be living already, you would have to pay your council tax for that property, and the council tax might ask you, when did you move in? Send us the contract agreement of your property, and then you have to do that. So it's very important that you do not forget to collect that piece of information. It's very important once you move into the property to ask for an inventory, or before you move into a property, it's important that you ask for an inventory. Now what happens is with this inventory is that you go through all the inventories, you go through everything. For my property, I was given an inventory because we got the house from an agent, and we went through all the inventory. You check, you do videos. Now see, this part let me tell you something, this part is very important. In fact it's very important. You know, the reason why I'm saying this is because when you get the inventory, you go through every single thing, and when you go to the house, you look at everything and you be ticking them. These are the things that are in the house. Now if anything is faulty in that property, listen carefully. If everything is faulty in that property, make sure you take a video or you take a picture and you save it, or you send it immediately to the landlord or the letting agent that are giving the property. This is why once you want to move out of the property, remember that deposit that you paid for. If you don't send them that picture, they will tell you that you are the one that is responsible for that, and they will take it out from your deposit. Say your deposit was £400, right? They will take, let's say, £50 from that money, because what? They told you that they gave you their property in good hands. The inventory was okay. You did not complain when you collected it. So why is it that you're telling them now that there's something wrong? No. So to avoid stories that touch the heart in future, make sure you take pictures and videos of the property as you see it once you get into the property, and send it immediately to them. And you can even send a new inventory to them and say, this is what you guys sent to me, and this is what I have seen, and these are the pictures that I have to back them up. That is going to save you a whole deal of pounds, a whole deal of explanation, and a whole deal of stress in the long run. The holding deposit is also known as a damage deposit, and it's likely to be in the region of 1 month to 5 weeks rent, and it's commonly required to be paid upfront. Following the tenant's fees act, you should also ask them what are the policies on the pets and redecorations. So in the UK, you cannot just go into a property and decide to redecorate the house. You have to ask questions as, do I redecorate? Do I change this? Do I change that? Because it's not your, especially when you're renting, it's not your home property. You understand? You cannot just go and change things like that. You will pay. You will pay. You have to ask them a question about how efficient the energy is in the property. The key to understanding how this is by getting an EPC certificate. An EPC basically. That is an electricity proficiency certificate. In this certificate, you would see exactly the ratio of how the electricity is in that property, which is going to save you a lot of pounds. This certificate will be provided to you at the start of the tenancy, but you can also ask this at the viewing. The most common question that people ask is, can I negotiate rent in the UK? Now, it varies, but the answer is yes. You can negotiate your rent in the UK. I have done it before, so you can do it as well. Speak with the landlord or the letting agent particularly about this. You have to do this in a polite way. Some landlords would agree, others won't, but definitely there is room for, like, you can always ask, because if you do not ask in this country, you ask for everything. Ask and ask. The Bible says ask and it shall be given. Well, in most cases, but in this country, you ask and you wait for the response. We've come to the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching, and do not forget to subscribe.